Welcome back to Namaste Node.js Season 2 and we are building Dev Tinder. In the previous episode, we built our login API, sign up API. We saw that how we can safely store passwords into our database, how we can compare them, and how we can kind of like authenticate user. In this video, we are going to go a little bit more advanced. We are going to see a little more advanced techniques of authentication. Okay, so we will talk about JWT tokens, we will talk about cookies, we will talk about, cookie parser, we will talk about how you can validate and invalidate users, right? We will talk about a lot of other amazing things, right? So don't worry about it. We will also see how you can create your auth middleware so that you can, authenticate the user on every request. Okay, so let us just try to do that. In this episode, we will have a little theory portion also. I will just explain you using diagrams that, how authentication looks like. And then we will also go and write code for everything what I will explain you. Okay, so first of all, let me just go to my whiteboard and let me just explain you a little bit of authentication. And let me also tell you the role of JWT token, cookies, and a lot of other things, right? So let me tell you a basic thing, right? How you would have already seen in the APIs. So there is a sign up API and you call a sign up API and you register yourself. And there is a login API. So what happens when you log in? This is an important thing. This we need to understand. Keep your mind open, keep your ears open, just give me full attention because this is very, very, very important. If you understand this, you will never have a problem in authentication. You will never face a problem in understanding that what is cookie, what is token and all that other stuff, right? Everything will be discussed, don't you worry about it. Once the user logs in, you might have seen that, if you want to make, suppose, let me give you a scenario, right? I am a user. I want to access the profile, my profile information. I cannot access it without logging in. What does it mean? What does it mean that if I log in, then only I am able to call the APIs, right? Then I am able to get the response for my profile. Then only, see, unless you log in, you should not be able to get your profile. You should not be able to edit your profile. You should not be able to update your profile. You should not be able to delete anything. You cannot send a friend request to some other person, right? You cannot send a request to other person if you are not logged in, right? So all these things needs authentication. All these things need authentication. All these things need you to be logged in, right? What does it mean? I will tell you and explain you everything, right? Let me just first of all go and go to a blank page. Yes. And now, whatever I will say, just listen to me very carefully. Okay. Earlier also I told you that, suppose this is a client or this is a user, right? The user is using a computer, right? In the computer, he has a Chrome browser or something, right? And in the Chrome browser, the user is requesting a website or the user is hitting your server, your API calls, right? This is the server. A user will make a connection request and you already know that, suppose if the user is calling an API call, right? Making an API call, it is requesting some data. So what will happen? What protocol is used? You already know from the season 1. We use a TCP protocol. What does that TCP protocol says, right? So if this user wants to communicate with server, there is a protocol, right? This is a server, right? This is a server. Now the user wants to communicate with it. So it creates a connection, right? This is a connection. And what happens? This is over a TCP IP protocol. Remember? TCP IP protocol. User has an IP. Server has an IP. So they are making a connection call, right? So it requests some data. Suppose it says that, get me my profile data. This user will send a request. Server will send back the data. Right? Server will send back the data and the connection is closed. Similarly, a lot of users are requesting the data. They are requesting the profile. This user is requesting the profile. The server will send back the data and the connection is closed. Similarly, every time you hit an API call to the server, a connection is made and then the connection is closed, right? So suppose, let me tell you how things work. Suppose if a user came in, right? This is a user. This is a server, right? So how do you do? User basically first of all said that, okay, give me my profile information. Get profile, okay? Get me my profile information, right? So it gets all the profile data, right? Suppose the user skill, the user age, address, gender, whatsoever, right? My profile kind of a thing, right? This is kind of like a get profile. Server sent the data back, right? The data came in and the connection was closed, right? This is an important thing, that the connection is closed over here. Now, the user wants to edit this API, right? Suppose the user makes another API call to edit this data, and this time it makes a patch call, right? Suppose it makes a patch call to the profile itself, right? So he is trying to update the API, right? Now, the server, every time an API call goes, the server needs to validate whether this user is authenticated or not, right? So that means that, okay, the user is asking for updating the profile. If the user is validated, update it and send the response back. Suppose now the user wants to send a connection request. So the user makes an API call, gets the response back, okay, the connection request is sent, and the connection is closed. So basically in the TCP IP protocol, you make the API call, get the data, connection closed. Make the API call, get the data, connection closed. So now, every time you are making an API call, the user needs to validate, right? The user needs to be validated whether the request is coming from an authorized source or not, right? So the user should be logged in. What do you mean by a login? This is the first question I want to answer, right? What do you mean by login? What happens when you log in? So what happens is, suppose the user first time is coming to your app and it makes a login request, right? The user makes a login request. Now let me tell you what happens in the applications, right? When you make a login request, the server basically, when it is sending the response back, right? You logged in using your email ID and password, right? You gave an email ID and password and you logged in. So the server says the email and password is correct and it gives you a authentication token, right? So basically server generates a JWT token, right? This is known as JSON web token, right? I will talk more about it, but assume that, okay, this JSON web token, the server will send this JSON web token back to the user. Now this user will store this JWT, right? The JWT is now stored with the user. Okay, this token is stored by the user. Now, once the user is logged in and the user is logged in, now whenever a user will make an API call, maybe it is to get a profile, or maybe it is to send a connection request, send request, maybe it is to update profile, right? Whatever request will it send, every time this JWT, right? This JWT token is there, right? This JWT token will be sent with all the requests, right? With all the requests. See, when you were logging in, there was no JWT token. Here you don't have a JWT token. Okay, let me remove it. Here you don't have a JWT token. You send the email ID password. Now, as soon as the server responded, now this token was sent back, right? This token was sent back through the response. And on the user side, on the user's browser, this token was stored. And every time you make an API call, this token is sent back once again, right? Every time you make an API call, this token will go again and again. And every time any request will come, the server will validate this token, whether this token is correct or not. Every time. So you might ask me a question that, Akshay, so whenever I am opening linkedin.com and I am liking anybody's post, I am making a comment, I am sending a connection request, I am reading somebody's data, I am just opening somebody's profile, every time this token is sent, yes, every time this token is sent back to the server, and the server each and every time validates whether this token is correct and validated user or not. Every time this happens. Whenever you make an API call, every time this token is validated. Got it? This is how authentication works inside your application. Right? Now, let me tell you an amazing thing. When the server is sending this token, how will the user store it? Right? It will be tough job, right? To user to store it and then send it back once again and again into the APIs. Right? It is a tough job. So to tackle all of this, the web came up with a solution which is known as cookies. Right? Web came up with a solution which is known as cookies. Got it? So what is a cookie? So whenever you are logging in to an application, so what happens whenever you are calling a login API, the server will basically send a successful response, and along with it, it sends the token inside the cookie. So basically this purple thing which you see is a cookie, and inside your cookie, your JWT token is present, right? What will server do? Let me just explain. Let me explain everything once again, okay? Shall I explain everything once again? Right? Let me explain everything once again. This was just a small thing, right? Let it take some time, right? It will take some time for me to explain it once again, but this will be embedded in your head properly, right? Because if you understand this, you will understand the whole concept of authentication. Whole concept of authentication. Okay? So this is the user and this is the server. Okay, now what will happen? User said, okay, login, right? Login, it called the login and it has your email ID and password, right? Email ID, password. Now what will server do? Server will check, server will validate email password. Email password validate karega. And then what it will do? It will create a JWT token. It will create a JWT token and wrap that JWT inside this cookie, right? This purple, I am making a cookie, right? Inside, and it will inside this cookie, right? I will show you what is a cookie also, don't you worry, right? Inside this cookie, it will add this token. Now this token is very unique only for this user. Suppose I am Akshay over here. So this token is only for Akshay. This is a very secret thing that the server has created, and this server will send this cookie back in the response. When you are sending the response, right? So you will send this cookie back over here. This cookie came in over here, right? Now, what will the browser do? All the browser, this is an inbuilt feature of the browser. Whenever a cookie is coming to us, right? Browser will store it. Browser will just keep that cookie stored with it. And now, whenever you are making a API call once again, suppose if you now are making a API call to get the profile, right? Profile. Got it? So this cookie will travel along, right? This cookie also goes along with it, right? So this cookie also goes, and then this cookie is validated. The cookie is validated, then the profile information is fetched from the DB, and then this request is sent back, right? Now suppose if the user is making another API call after 5 seconds, say connection request, right? Sending a connection request to somebody. Now every time any connection request goes in, this cookie will travel, right? Any connection, any request, any API request will be made, close, right? Any request will be made, this cookie will be sent, right? And every time on every API call, right, validated cookie will be validated. So this is how the mechanism works. Now this cookie concept, we don't understand, right? As a user, when I visit a website, I just log in once and then everything works perfectly fine, right? Suppose now let me tell you an example. Let me just remove this, right? Remove a lot of things, right? And let me tell you that how this authentication, when will this cookie not work, okay? Let me tell you, when will this cookie not work? So, done with this, right? Let me just tell you. It's a very small thing left, right? Then we will move on to the code. So, suppose if you have got the cookie back over here, right? Now, I made another request, profile. I am getting the profile. Now, my cookie is sent over here, right? And I am validating the cookie, right? Now, what will happen is, suppose this cookie, now I can also send an expiry date of this cookie. I can also send the expiry date of this JWT token. Okay, I can set the expiry of the token and the cookie also, right? So suppose I say that, okay, that cookie will expire in 1 day, right? Cookie will expire in 1 day. Or I can even say the cookie can expire in 1 hour, 1 day, 1 minute, 10 seconds. I can enter anything, right? Or the cookie might not expire lifetime. You might have seen a lot of websites where you just log in once, and then it just completely works, right? Every time you go back to that website, you are already logged in. Remember, you had seen a lot of websites like this. Whenever you visit their website, the cookie is there. You are able to log in. But suppose your cookie expired in between. Suppose your cookie expired now, and you are still making this API call, but this cookie over here is the old one, right? This is the expired cookie. I am denoting it with blue. Now this old cookie is going, so it will fail the validation, right? It will fail the validation, and the response will be, please log in, and you will be redirected back to the login page. Got it? So this is what cookie is. Now let me just recap it once again. Summary in just 2 lines. Listen to me very carefully. Whenever a user is logging in, server will create a token, attach it into a cookie, and send back. Now that cookie will be stored by the browser. Any request which is coming up next, that cookie will be sent along, right? And when the cookie will be sent along, we will validate it once again and then do anything that I want to do in the application. That's how the whole authentication flow works in theory, right? Now we will see all of this being implemented in the code, right? Hope you would have understood it. Now let me just close my notebook, right? Let me just close my iPad and let us just move to code now, okay? And I will show you everything working in the code, right? So first of all, as I told you, the theory, when you are logging in, right? When you are logging in, I will check the email ID and password if the email ID and password is validated. Suppose if the user email ID and password is validated, over here I will write all this logic of cookie and everything, right? Over here I will write all this logic of cookie and everything. What will I do? Let me just write the pseudo steps. I will create a JWT token. I will tell you that, okay, what is a token and everything, don't worry, right? And then when I create a token, when I create a token, then what will I do? I will add the token to cookie, and send the response back to the user, right? So this is what I will do, and my user, as soon as I send this cookie to the user, now my user is already authenticated. It is like basically, the token, it is kind of like a temporary password which will come in all the requests that will come to server. Okay, I will show it to you in action very soon. Okay, first of all, let me not introduce this JWT logic right now, but let me show you what is a cookie. So suppose if you are sending some response back, right? Suppose I am sending some response back. So Express gives you a very good way to attach a cookie, right? So let me tell you, let's go to express.com, right? expressjs.com. Now what you can do whenever you are sending the response back, you can send a cookie. How do you send a cookie? So let me just search for it. Response.cookie, right? So this is the res.cookie. So there is a method like this, right? So you can set the cookie like this. Okay, you can set the cookie like this. Now let me just show it to you. If you want, you can just go and read about this documentation, res.cookie, and then you give a name value pair, and then you give it options, right? So you can give it a lot of options also, but let me just show you how it works, right? So what I will do is I can do like this, right? Response.cookie, and over here I can just, response.cookie, I can just send the name value pair. Okay, so I can send the token. Suppose if I send the token, right? This is the token, and I can send a random token out here, right? This is a random token. We will generate this token, don't worry, right? Now, when I send this cookie, right, response.cookie, and I send this token, And then I will send this response back successfully. Login successful. Now let us see what will happen. Shall I go and show you? So see, in the postman, over here you will see a cookies section. When you click on cookies, it will show you all the cookies. So right now we don't have any cookie, so it is not showing me anywhere, anything, right? But if I click on cookies, I can see the cookies over here. Now I have written the logic to add this cookie, right? I have written the logic to add this cookie. Let me go back and let me log in, right? Let me use this user ID password. And if I click on login, see this, I sent login successful. Now, login successful, nothing changed. It is working like how it was working before. But this time, something interesting happened. That interesting thing is that we would have got the cookie back from the server. I would have got the cookie back from the server. If I go over here in cookies, oh my God, it's not showing me cookies. Let me open it once again. You know, there is a problem with Postman. I don't know what the problem is. If I will open it once again, it will show me, right? See this, now it is showing me, right? Some problem with my Postman, right? I have seen this happening. It just does not work at once, right? You have to like open the cookie, open it once again, then it works. I don't know, maybe some issue or something, right? So now this cookie has come in, right? This cookie, and if you will see, I have got the token back. I have got this token back over here. Do you see this? Now, let me tell you an interesting thing. Suppose now I want to get my user, right? Suppose if I want to get this user, right? Or let us create one more get call, okay? Let me just, suppose if the user, now basically, when I have got this cookie, so what will happen is now I will try to do something which needs authentication. Suppose if I want to access my profile, right? So I logged in. So see what happened till now is I sent the login API call. I created a cookie, entered a token, and then this cookie is back to the user. Now I will make a API call to my profile API, right? We don't have a profile API. Let me just create it very quickly, right? App.get. Let's say it gets me the profile of the user /profile, right? And let me create a async function, request response. And over here, what I will do, whenever my profile API will be called, now I want to validate my cookie, right? Now I want to validate my cookie. How will I get the cookie is, see, let me just show it to you. How do you get the cookie, right? Cookie is equals to request.cookie, right? Request.cookies. Got it? This should give me, but let me just see, right? Over here in the documentation, you can also search request.cookie, right? Here you will find it, right? Go read this documentation. So basically, when you do request.cookies, right? Like this, when you do request.cookies like this, it will give you all the cookies, right? It will give you all the cookies, right? So what it will do, console.log cookies. Cool. So I will recap everything once again, but just listen to me once again, right? So what I did was, I did till here, right? I sent the login API call. It gave me back a cookie. Now whenever I will make a profile API call, right? Let us make a profile API call, a get API call. Let me duplicate it, right? This is my /profile. Okay. This is my profile API call. Let us make this profile API call, right? And I don't want to send any data in this get call. If I will hit send, right? If I will hit send, socket hang up. Okay. There is some issue. Request.cookies is not a function. Request.cookies is not a function. Am I reading it wrong? Okay, it's not a function. Sorry, my bad. It's not a function. You will get it like this, right? Cool. Send it. Now it is not, because I have not returned anything, so it will go in an infinite loop. But if I will go over here, it says undefined. Do you see this undefined printed? So basically, I am not able to read my cookies back, right? So let us first of all send the response back. Okay. Okay. Send the response back. okay? And let us say reading cookie, something like that, okay? It's just a dummy response so that this doesn't go in the infinite loop. If I hit the profile now, it says reading cookie, but over here you see undefined. That means the cookie over here is undefined. This cookie we have not got the cookie back, but ideally we should have got the cookie back. So to read the cookie, we need one more npm library. We need basically a middleware which is known as cookie parser. So whenever you want to read a cookie, you need to parse it and then able to read it. Remember, we use something like express.json. Why did we use express.json? Because whenever I am reading the request, I want that data to be parsed into JSON and then I want to get it, right? Similarly, what I will do is I want to read my cookie, so I will need one more middleware, right? Remember, this middleware is very important, and this middleware is also recommended by Express, right? This middleware is known as, this npm package is known as cookie parser. And this cookie parser is also developed by the Express.js team. It is the official Express.js package, right? So let us just install it. You know how to install it, right? npm install cookie parser, right? Write the name correctly, otherwise things will break. So I have installed my cookie parser. Now what I will do, I will just add this middleware. Whenever any request will come, my cookies will be parsed and I can now access those cookies, okay? So now I will just use cookie parser, right? Let me first of all import it. Constant cookie parser is equals to require cookie parser, okay? Require cookie parser. I have got this, okay, my bad, double quotes. Cool. So cookie parser, I have got this. Now what I will do, I will just add this middleware over here. That's it. Now, when the request will come, I will be able to read the cookies back, right? So if I hit the response, okay, I'm not running the server, npm run dev. Now server is running. If I hit this, it says reading cookie. And over here, do you see this? I have got my cookie back. I have got my cookie back. Suppose if this cookie was not there, let me just show it to you. Let us just clear all cookies. I have cleared all the cookies, right? And now, let me just send this profile once again. If I hit the cookie, right? So it will say, let's see, object null prototype. Now my cookie is not coming, right? Now my cookie is not coming. Let me restart the server. Let me show it to you. If I hit a profile API call, my cookie is not coming over here, right? My cookie is not coming. But suppose if I log in, right? If I hit enter, I log in. Now my cookie would have been stored. And now if I go to profile, if I hit it, so see this, I have got my cookie back. I have got my cookie back. So now again, if I have to repeat it, let me just recap everything for people who did not understand till here. Whenever you are logging in, as soon as you hit the login API, I will set the token inside the cookie and will give you the cookie. Now that cookie, now it is the job of the postman or it is the job of the client. Majorly our client is browsers, right? Right now I am just using Postman for testing it, right? So Postman is also working similar to browser. The job of browser is to read those cookies and keep it safely. And whenever I am requesting any other API call, please send back the cookie whenever I am making any API call. Okay, please send back the cookie whenever I am making any API call, right? This is what is the job of this browser, right? You don't have to do anything. So what happened is, as in when I clicked on login and I sent it, so the cookie was added, right? The cookie was added. I'm not able to see the cookie. It happens twice, right? See this. The token was added, right? Now when the token is added, now if I go to profile, it will just read the cookie and it will return it, right? It will return it. But let me tell you one important thing. Suppose if I delete these cookies, right? Suppose if I delete these cookies And now I am calling this profile API call. Now I don't have the cookie, so it will not go, right? So if I hit the send, it is saying reading cookie, but over here you will get null. Got it? So login just injects the cookie, right? Injects the cookie into the browser, right? Into the client, and then client will get the cookie back. Now, suppose if I want to secure my profile API, right? So I will read the cookie, and if I will see whether the cookie, right? I will just get the data from the cookie. Now I will extract the token from this cookie, right? What I will do, I will extract the token from this cookie, and then I will write the validation logic, right? Cookies, right? I will extract the token from this cookies, and then what I will do, I will validate it, right? Validate my token, and if the token is valid, if my token is valid, then I will give the response back. Otherwise, I will say that please log in, right? If the request is valid, then I will say that, okay, you can access the data. Otherwise, we will say that please log in, or your cookie or your token has expired, right? This is what we will say. Okay, hope you have understood this. Now let me go ahead and write code for implementing the token logic. Okay, and let me also tell you what is the JWT token. So see, JWT token, let me just Google it and show it to you from the official JWT website, jwt.io, right? This is the website name. So see, JWT token is known as JSON Web Token. Okay, JSON Web Token. So this is basically an industry standard. It generates a token, and this is a very unique token, and it has some secret information embedded inside it. Okay, so JWT token is also kind of like a password hash kind of a thing, right? But it is not exactly a password hash. It is implemented on a very different logic, right? It is implemented in a very different kind of a way, right? How the tokens are made. And we really don't need to care about how JWT tokens are made or something like that, right? How internally JWT tokens are made or something. But you can assume that this is an encrypted hash, right? Now, this JWT token can contain special information inside them, right? Special information inside them. And let me tell you that how we can create these JWT tokens and how we can use it. First of all, let me tell you that, how the JWT token looks like. So every JWT token, whatever JWT token you will see, will look something like this, right? This JWT token will look something like this. Do you see three things over here? One is the red thing, one is the pink thing, one is the blue thing, right? So there are three. This token is divided into three things. One is header, one is payload, and one is the signature. One is header, one is payload, one is the signature. So this red thing is the header. The pink thing is the payload or the data or the secret data which I will hide inside this token. I can hide some data inside this token, right, from the server. I will show it to you what we will hide, right? And what I will do is, and then there is a blue thing, right? There is a blue thing. This blue is a signature. This is a signature which JWT uses to check whether this token is validated, whether this token is actual or not. Suppose if an attacker tries to play with your token, so this signature will not match it, right? The signature should be perfectly valid. Got it? So now this is the JWT token. And let me also tell you that how do you create this JWT token and how do you put it inside the cookie and send back, okay? Let me just show it to you. For that, we will be using another NPM package which is known as JSON Web Token, right? There is a very famous library. See, there are a lot of packages which you will find over here to create JWT tokens, but this JSON Web Token is the main one, right? Please use this, right? It's a good package. It is developed by Auth0, right? So it's developed by Auth0, right? JSON Web Token. Okay, so how do you do it? This is how you install it. npm I JSON Web Token, and it also gives you a way of signing a token and verifying a token. See, it gives you a method, just like we have this bcrypt.compare and bcrypt.hash. Similarly, we have jwt.sign and we have a jwt.verify. there must be a verify also. JWT.verify. Okay, so this function is used for verification. This function is used for creating the token. Okay, so we will do all of it. Let me just show it to you. And let me tell you, in theory, it is looking very, very complex. But in reality, when we will code, it is very, very easy. Okay, so how do you create a token? Let me just show it to you in the login API. As soon as the user is login, how do you create a token? Let me just tell you. First of all, let us install the JWT token package, JSON web token. Okay, we have got this JSON web token. Let us just hit enter. Now I have got this library installed. Let me start my server once again. npm run dev. Cool, my server has started. Now I have got my JSON web token. Now what I will do, JWT is equals to require JSON web token. Okay, so I have got my JSON web token over here. Now what I will do, how do you create a token? So basically your token is equal to await, right? And what I will do, jwt.sign sign, and let me show you the documentation. I can now hide some data inside this token, and then I will have to pass a private key over here, right? So what I will do is I can basically hide some data over here. When I am creating a token, I can hide some data. And what I will hide over here is I will hide the user ID, right? I will hide the user ID. Okay. I will tell you the reason for hiding the user ID, but just understand for now that I am hiding the user ID. So what is this underscore ID? This underscore ID is basically the same ID. Every user has an ID, right? So basically, see what people are doing is, see, in the login API, suppose, where is our login API? This is the login API, akshay@gmail.com. When you hit the login API, this email ID will come. Now I will find in my database whether this email ID exists or not, and whether the password is valid or not. If this email ID and password comes in, and my email ID is validated and the password is validated, what I will do, I will now get this user.underscore ID. What is this user.underscore ID? This ID, right? This object ID over here, right? This is my user.underscore ID. What I will do, user.underscore ID, I am hiding this information inside this token, and I will also give a secret key over here. This secret key is basically a password that only I know. And now you know because you are watching the video. But this secret key is a password that only server knows. User don't know it. Attacker don't know it. Nobody knows this password. Only the server knows this password. Okay. So I am hiding this data, and I am also giving a secret key. This secret key is very, very important. Okay, so let us make a secret key as a password. Let's say it is dev@tinder $790. Okay, I don't know. I just rate a random secret key. So this is a secret key. Okay, I am using this secret key, right? This secret key, and I am using this data, and I am hiding this data inside this token. I will get a token, and let me just console log the token to just show you how the token looks like. Right? I have got this token. Now, what will I do? I will send this token back to the user. I will send this token back to the user. That's it. Done. Our job is done. Right? Login job is done. When the user is coming with an email ID, password, if the email ID and password is correct, creating a token, hiding the user ID inside it, and then sending it back to the user, right? Hiding the user ID back, sending it back to the user. Cool. So now what? If I will log in, let me hit the login button. If I send this, okay, first of all, let me clear the cookies. Okay, cookies are not available. Let me just go back, hit again. Yep. Now I have got the cookie. Over here, you will see this token over here, right? See this. This is the token which is ending with EMO, right? EM0 or EMO, I don't know. And do you see this? This was the token which was created. This is the token which is created, and we have sent back to the inside the cookie to the client, to the user. Now this token is safely secured, right? This token is safe with us. Now this token also has a secret information about who is logged in, right? So who is logged in? Akshay is logged in, right? And the user ID of Akshay is hidden inside this token. A user ID of Akshay is hidden inside this token. You know it, I know it, and I also know the password. And suppose if somebody gets this token, right? Suppose if somebody gets this token, right? So they can just, you might have seen that there is a very famous attack, right? It's a very attack, and you learn it inside hacking also. That is known as cookie hijacking, right? So basically session hijacking, cookie hijacking, right? So basically people steal cookies. You might have heard that, okay, cookie has been stolen, right? So when you steal somebody's cookie, suppose if I get to know your cookie, then I can access your private information also, right? So that is how it works. Now, once I have got this token, right, I will explain you how everything works. Don't you worry. So this is my token. I am not modifying it. Now, suppose I go back to my profile, and if I hit send, so now this profile API call, where is my profile API call? This is the profile API call. It would have got this cookie, and inside this cookie, I am logging it. See this. Inside this cookie, I have got this token back. Now, what I will do is, I will now verify this token, right? I will now validate this token, right? How do I validate this token? Let me just show it to you. Is token valid, right? Is token valid? So is token valid? And now what I will do, I will use the method which is given to us by JWT, and it is known as JWT.verify. Okay, JWT.verify. Over here you will pass the token, you will pass the secret, whatever the secret you had, right? JWT.verify, right? Verify. Okay, JWT.verify. Over here I will pass the token which is coming in the request, and then also I will pass the secret key. What is the secret key? You have to use the same secret key, right? Once you get, now what you will get, this JWT verify will not give you a boolean. It does not give you a boolean. It gives you a decoded value, right? It gives you a decoded value. And let me say decoded, basically see, I was storing something over here, right? I was storing the ID over here. It will give you this back, right? So basically you can get the data back. So decoded message, right? Let's say decoded message. So now inside this decoded message, let me just console.log and show it to you what is the decoded message, right? So if I console log it, if I go back and if I hit the profile API once again, so the decoded message is this ID, right? Do you see this? This decoded message is this ID. Don't forget about this IAT. This IAT is something which is used by JWT. I have not added it. Just ignore this, but you are most concerned about this ID. Now, I can just read my ID from this decoded message, isn't it? I can just get this ID from my decoded message, and now I will get the information about the logged in user, right? So I have got this information about the logged in user. So what I can say is console.log, right? I can just say that, okay, the logged in user is, see, logged in user is plus the underscore ID. This is my logged in user. This is the token of this user ID. Let me just show you the demo of this. Okay, let me just show you the demo of this. First of all, let me just remove this cookie so that my console is clear. Cool. So now let us just remove the cookies from here. Let me just remove the cookie, clear all cookies. Okay, I have cleared all the cookies. Now let me just log in once again. Okay, I am logged in once again, my username and password. If I send, it has sent the request. The server has created a cookie, sent it back. Now I have got the cookie inside my Postman. Let me close it, open it once again. It shows, right? I have got this cookie over here. I have got a new token. See, every time you will log in, it will create a new token, right? See, it is not the same token, it is a new token. But that user ID is hidden over here, right? And in the profile, now if I hit the send and if I go back, I will see that, okay, this token is of Akshay Saini. That means Akshay Saini is logged in. This user ID is logged in. And this user ID is of Akshay Saini, if you will go over, see over here. Right? Suppose right now I just have one user. Right? Suppose let me sign up one more user. Okay? Let us create one more user. One is Akshay Saini. Let us make another user as Elon Musk. Okay? Elon Musk. And then elon@gmail.com and elon@123. Let us register this user. I have created a new user. A new user have come into our database. See, there are two users now. Elon and Akshay Saini, there are two users. Okay. Now suppose Elon is logging in. Now suppose Elon is logging in, right? So let us log in Elon. Okay. Let us log in Elon @123. Send it. It says login successful. Over here, you will see that the user who is logged in is the Elon, right? Logged in user is Elon, right? This will be the user ID of Elon, right? Is it? Let us go back and you will see the logged in user will be Elon. I don't know why it is not calling which. Okay, I did log in, right? Now let us go to profile and if I hit the send button, this email, this ID would be of Elon, right? It ends with 7BF. Or maybe, let us find the user, okay? Let's find the user. I want to get the profile back, right? I want to get the profile back. So what I will do, let us find the user in this database, right? And then I can say await. Let us find the user from the database, find by ID. And then I can send this ID, right? I can send this ID over here, right? Sorry, my bad. ID over here. Cool. I have got the user back. Now let me send the user back. Okay. I want to get the profile. I'm just sending the user back. If I don't get so I'm just considering the happy case. I have not checked a lot of things here, right? But let us just do this, right? So if the Elon Musk is logged in, so if I go back, send the cookie, I have got this Elon object back, right? I did not give any information. I'm just hitting the profile with this cookie of Elon Musk. So my Elon is logged in. Now if I clear the cookie, if the cookie is not there, now if somebody hits the profile, I will not get the response because the cookie is not there, right? I will not get the response, but I have not even handled the error cases. Let us handle the error cases also. If suppose my token is not there, right? If I don't get the token from the, right? If not of token, then it should. And let us also write all of these things into try and catch, right? We have not written everything inside try catch, right? Let us also write everything inside try catch. Let me copy the catch over here. Let me copy the catch. Cool. What is happening over here? If not of token. Okay, cool. So let me just, I have written this catch error, and the error message. If my token is not present, so throw new error, invalid token. Okay, I will say invalid token, right? Invalid token. Cool. Invalid token. Okay, if the token is invalid, so it is invalid token. Once I get the user, then also I will check if the user, suppose if the token is valid, but the user does not exist, right? It can happen, right? The token is valid, but the user does not exist in our database. Then I will say no user found, right? Invalid request or something like that. Let me just throw an error also. Throw new error. User does not exist, right? Or I can also say, please log in again, right? Because the token is not valid or something like that. Okay. Now everything should work. If I am not logged in, if the cookies are not set over here, it says invalid token, right? But suppose if I log in, if Elon Musk is trying to access profile, he cannot access it, right? He cannot access the profile because the token is not valid. But suppose if Elon Musk logs in, right? Now the cookie must have been set. Now go to profile and hit send. It will give you Elon Musk. This is what works, right? You make an API call. Your API call net will not work. It will only work with the token. And the only way to get the token is by calling the login API, right? Suppose if Akshay logs in, right? Suppose if Akshay logs in, AKSHAY, Akshay @123. I log in over here, right? Let me go back to my profile and hit the profile API. Now I will see Akshay Saini, right? So now, if Akshay Saini has logged in using the email ID and password of Akshay Saini, so the profile data can only be accessed of Akshay Saini. That's it. Akshay Saini cannot access the profile data of Elon Musk. Why? Because I don't know the email ID password. I don't know the cookies, right? My cookies will not be set, right? My cookies can only be set when my email ID and password is correct for Akshay Saini, right? Then the cookies will be set and then I will be able to access the profile and only my profile. Now, when we say that cookie hijacking or cookie stealing, that means if somebody steals your cookies, right? If somebody steals your cookies, right now I don't see any cookies. Why? Yep. If I steal your cookie, then I can just use this cookie to access all the APIs of a logged in user. Okay. So this is known as cookie hijacking. But any random attacker cannot steal your cookies until they get access to your computer or you write some JavaScript into the console to give them access to cookies. There is no way, right? And that is how authentication works in most of the websites. Almost all the websites that you see on the internet uses the same kind of authentication. So whenever you are logging in, never share your cookie with anyone, right? And you should not even share all these cookies with anyone, right? So we will see all this working in the browser also, that how everything works in the browser in future episode when we will build the UI of our application, right? We will build the UI of the application. Then I will show you everything in detail, how the cookie works and all the things inside browser. And you will be amazed to see all of that working and everything will fall into the place, right? So this is the basic thing. If I have to recap once again, right? So what I am doing is the user is sending me an email ID and password. Server is validating whether the email ID and password is correct. And it is creating a JWT token and putting it inside the cookie, sending it back. And now every time the cookie comes in, I validate the cookie and I see that this cookie is of Akshay or this cookie is of Elon Musk. If it is of Akshay, I will give the data of Akshay to Akshay. If this cookie is of Elon Musk, then I will only give the data of Elon Musk to Elon Musk. I cannot give Akshay's profile data to Elon Musk and Elon Musk's profile data to Akshay, because this cookie has this token has a hidden information about which user ID this cookie belongs to, which user's cookie this is, right? And that is only possible because of JWT. Right? So this is what I wanted to tell you. We have learned what is cookie, what is JWT, and how do you sign and verify these JWT tokens. Okay? Creating a token, validating the token, and decoding the message from it, and then returning the data from it. Right? This is how you do it. Right? And let me just remove the random console logs, right? Because console logs are not a good thing in the code. This is login API, this is profile API. Cool. So I have removed all of it. Now, my profile API is 100% secure, right? My profile API is 100% safe. But my other APIs, suppose my user API or feed API, I can still, it is not even checking this feed API. I can still go and call it. It gives me all the information of all the users, right? It gives me information of all the users because we have not added authentication in this API yet, right? I will show you the best way of adding authentication to your APIs, right? I will create a auth middleware. Remember, I showed you the auth middleware in few episodes earlier, right? Few episode backs when I was teaching you middleware, I told you the importance of middleware. Now is the time when that middleware logic will come into picture. But before moving on to writing an auth middleware, I will show you basically, my dear friends, that how do you create a middleware. But before that, let me give you a homework. You have to pause the video here after I give the homework, right? And then do all of these things, right? And then come back and then I will show you an interesting thing, right? So first of all, right, what you have to do in login API, right? Create a JWT token, right? Token, or maybe first of all, before even creating this, what you have to do is you have to add a, install JSON web token, right? JSON web token. Okay. Or even before that, you should install cookie parser, right? Cookie parser. Just do like how I did, right? First of all, don't go into JSON web token. Just install cookie parser. Then what you should do is just send a dummy cookie to user, right? And then create a profile API, get profile API, get/profile API, and check if you get the cookie back, right? Once you have created the cookie, sending the cookie back, how do you send the cookie back? Response.send, response.cookie, right? Where is it? This is how you set the cookie, right? Just do this and send the cookie back and then read from the profile API. Once you are able to read it back, then you have to implement the JWT token logic, right? Then you have to install JSON web token, right? And then inside the login API, after validation, right? After email and password validation, create a JWT token and send it to user. Okay, create a JWT token, send it back to user, right? User in cookies, right? Inside cookies. Now read the cookies inside your profile API and find the logged in user, right? Basically, read the cookie, get the token and find out who is logged in, right? Your server should know who is logged in. Cool. So this is how the whole authentication will work. Take a pause, do till here, and then come back. I will tell you how to write the auth middleware, right? And what are the best practices to implement this, authentication mechanism. Okay. So take a break. Welcome back, my dear friends. Now let us just go back and now we will create our auth middleware. Till now, we have seen that how you can wrap your token inside the cookie and then read the cookie every time any API call is made. We have seen all of it. But let me tell you, we will now create an auth middleware, right? Auth middleware. Why do we need a middleware first of all, right? So see, I want all my APIs to be secure, right? I have shown you, right? We will create a lot of APIs. Where are the APIs, right? So all these APIs, right? So user have to log in and then all these APIs will only work. All these APIs will only work after authentication, right? Otherwise they should not work. The only two APIs, sign up and login, should work without authentication because you don't need authentication to sign up or login. But otherwise all the APIs should work after authentication, right? So right now, my profile API is secure now, right? Nobody can get access to my user object, right? Cannot get access to the data unless the token is valid, right? Unless the token is valid. But all the other APIs do not have a token check. So what I will do is I will create a auth middleware and I will validate the token over there. right? I will create a auth middleware and I will validate the token over here, right? For that, let me just go to the middlewares and auth.js file. Over here, I already created 2 dummy authorization middlewares, right? So I don't need them right now. Let me just remove it. Let me just remove it, or let me just keep it user auth, right? Let me just use the same middleware, right? Okay. But I will write everything from scratch so that, see, my teaching style is like that. I never come with any code and explain you the code. I write each and every line and explain you each and every line. And you would have seen it already, right? I am explaining you each and every word that I write. That is what my teaching style is. And I want you all to also understand each and every line that you write. You should understand what you are writing, right? Never there should be a line or a word that you write and you don't understand why they were writing. If you are writing request, if you are writing response, you are writing next, you are writing module export, everything you should understand, right? Each and every line and word you should understand in your code, right? No extra line and no less line, right? You should write what is required. Got it? This is how you write code. Now let us create this user auth, right, middleware. The job of this middleware is to read the token from the request, right? Request cookies. Read the token from the request to cookies. Validate the token, right? And find the user. Find the user. Okay, find whether this, validate the token and then find that the token is of some user. Does that user even exist in our database? Okay, we have to validate everything. Okay, so let's just do it one by one. Reading the token from request.cookies. How do you read it? You know it already, right? Let me write it down once again. How do you read the cookies? Cookies is request.cookies. Now what I will do, I will try to find out the token from the cookies. How do you write that code? You can write, okay, I am just extracting my token out of these cookies, right? Out of these cookies. Or you can directly write token coming from request.cookies, okay? So you can directly write like this. Cool. So now I have got my token from the cookies. How do you verify this? How do you verify it? You already know that, my dear friends. How do you verify it? I will just get the decoded message, or let me say decoded data, right? That would be a better, or let me call this as decoded obj, right? Object, right? Let's got this decoded object, right? And I will get it from await JWT.verify, right? I have not imported my JWT on the top. Let us get the JWT out here. Constant JWT is equals to require JWT, not JWT. Remember, JSON web token. This is the library we are using, and I will get my await JWT.verify. And how do you verify it? You verify it by passing a token over here, and then you also verify it by passing a secret over here, and that secret that we used to sign this token, right? We have signed that token in the login API. You should not be hard coding these tokens. You should not be hard coding all of these using over here, right? You will create an environment variable file. I will tell you how to just, there will be a single place from where this token will come in. I will tell you that very soon, right? In future episodes, don't worry about it. But for now, I am just hard coding all of these, right? This is not the best practice to hard code it, right? But I am just writing it like this over here, right? So in future, right? Let me copy it. Let me go back to auth middleware and let me go over here. Let me paste it, right? In future, you will not do like that. You will do something like this: process dot, right? Process dot env dot secret, right? JWT secret, something like this. You will do something like this, right? I will show it to you. I'm not doing it right away. I will show it to you how to do it, right? Later on. But for now, you can just directly use it. So await, I will have to write async over here. ASYNC. Async. Cool. So now read the token, verify the token, validate the token, right? And if I have got my decoded message, I will get my ID, right, underscore ID. Cool. So I will get my underscore ID from my decoded obj dot data. No, just the object, right? I will get my underscore ID. If my ID is present, right? If my ID is present, now what I will do, I will find the user inside my database, right? How I will do? I will just find it inside the user. This is the user model. I have to import this model, right? Don't forget to import it. Is equals to require, and then I will go to /model, or maybe I'll have to go // because it's inside a folder, right? So inside a folder, model/user, models/user. Am I writing something wrong? Okay, the file name is small user. Okay, so require model.user, and inside this I will do user.find by ID, right? Find by ID, and I will send this underscore ID over here, right? I will find the user. If my user is not present, right? If not of user, then I will throw a new error and I will say user not found, right? I will just say user not found. Cool. Otherwise, else, right? I will throw a new error. Otherwise, I will just send the response back, response.send, right? Or sorry. Otherwise, if my user is not found, right? Then what I will do? If my user is not found, I will just throw an error. Otherwise, what I will do, because this is a middleware, I will call my next over here, right? I will call this next function. Do you know, right? You know exactly that why next is called, right? You know, right? Why next is called? Next is called, when next is called? Next is called to move to the request handler. Okay? I will show it to you, right? Next. Now, let me just use try catch over here. Let me just use try catch over here, right? Let me just remove this comment. Let me extract, put all these code into try catch block, right? Try and catch error. And over here in the error, let me just send res.status and let us say it is 4 not 4, right? User is not valid, or maybe let's say 400. 400 is a good status code, right? Bad request, and there is an error. And what is the error? Let me just add error.message over here. Cool. So now I have created this user auth middleware. Okay. What this user auth middleware is doing is, it is basically checking if my token exists in the request or not, right? If the token is not there, let me just write that logic also, right? If I don't find the token, then throw an error, right? Throw new error. Token is not valid, right? Token is not valid, right? So I have sent this error if the token is not valid. And if I extracted my decoded object and if I got this ID and if the user is not there, then I will say user not found. Otherwise, if the token is valid and the user is found, then what I will do, I will just call the next, right? Next means next handler, right? And now how will I use this handler is, let me just show it to you. What I will do, my dear friend, is, what I will do now is, I will just get the middleware over here, right? I will get the middleware over here, require, and right? Require, and then I will say // right? Not // and then I will say /middlewares /auth, and I will close this. Now I will get the user auth middleware, and this user auth middleware I will add on to any API and it will just make that API very strong, right? So how? Let us add this API to my profile API, right? How do I add this middleware? You already know this, right? I just pass this before passing the request handler, right? What will happen now? You remember, right? in the user or in the profile, sorry, this is the user API. I will come to this later on, but in the profile API, suppose if I am writing this, so how this request will be handled? If suppose the API call is made to /profile, suppose if somebody is making an API call to /profile, so it will first of all go in the user auth middleware, it will run all the code, it will check for the token, it will validate the token, it will find the user over here. If the user is successful, if the user is not found, it will throw an error. If everything goes well, then call the next over here. When I call the next, then it will go and call this function. Okay, so this function, see, if the token is not validated, this code will not even run if the token is not validated, right? This is very, 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 very powerful thing inside Express.js. This Express.js works like this, that you can chain the middlewares and request handlers one after the other. Because we have this middleware in between, it is coming in the middle. So if you do not pass this middleware, this code will not even be called, right? This code will not even be called. If all of this code does not pass, this code will not even be that response handler, that request handler will not even get called. No code will be called, and what will happen is this response error message will be sent right from here if the user does not exist, right? But if the user exists, now what we will do, I will just call this profile API. Okay, and this request handler will be called. Now, there are a lot of redundant things which we are doing over here. So see, I have already checked this token. I don't need cookies anymore over here. I don't need to read my token from here. I don't need ID messages from here. I don't even need the user object, right? So do I need the user object? I don't need it, because I am already making a call in the database and finding this user, right? So what I can do is I can attach the user over here. See, either I can not do it, right? I have just validated this user. I can call the next. Now when it will go to this request handler, listen to me very carefully, right? So see, in the auth middleware, I am finding the user in the database, right? And again over here in my request handler, I am finding the user once again in the database. So there is no point, right? So what I can do is I can just, when I found this user, I can just attach this user onto my request object. Okay, so I can just attach this to my request object, request.user, req.user is equals to user. So what will happen now, this database, whatever the user I have found on the database, I have just attached into request and I have called the next. Now when the control will go to this function, when the control will go to this request handler, so in this request my user will already be present because the auth middleware have set this user, right? So what I can do, I can check the user. I don't have to make this API call again. I don't have to make this database call again. I will just find this user from request.user. Because I have already checked if the user exists or not in auth middleware, I don't need to do anything of that sort, right? So this profile API will basically just send back my user, right? That's all I need to do. This is my auth middleware, right? This is my auth middleware. Do you get it? Do you get this or not? Right? So, right, I mean, this is how it works. Now let us just test it up. Let me just clear the cookies first of all, clear all cookies. And let me just try to hit the profile API. If I hit the profile API, it says token is not valid. And this token is not valid. This error is coming from where? My auth middleware. See this. This user auth middleware, this token is not valid is coming over here. Got it? Now, because the token is not valid, somebody needs to log in, right? Right? Somebody needs to log in. Now, if I go to login API, let me log in using Akshay, right? This is my credential. If I hit send, I am successfully logged in. The cookie would have been set. Now, if I go and try to find my profile, if I hit send, it gives me back my profile. This is what we wanted. Suppose if I am logged in, suppose if I go back to login and now I log in as Elon Musk. Elon, and I give it elon@123. If I send it, now the token would have been replaced by the token of Elon Musk. Now if I go back to the profile, if I hit send, it will give me the API, it will give me the profile of Elon Musk. Got it? So this is an amazing thing, my dear friends. This is how you authenticate the users. Got it? So this is how you write the auth middleware, and this middleware is very, 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 very important. Now, let me just tell you that how easier will it be, right? So before calling any API, right? So see, these are the random APIs we were using for testing. Let us remove all these APIs. We will be creating all the APIs from scratch. All the APIs will be new, right? Don't worry about it, right? We will create all the APIs from scratch. All the APIs will be new, right? I have removed all the APIs. Now we are building DevTinder. I will be making new APIs with authentication. Don't you worry, in the coming episodes. So we will use the latest and the best technique of authentication. Okay. So now, now this is the profile API. Let us create one more API. Suppose if I create another API to send connection request. Okay. So let's say, okay, there is an API to send connection request. Send connection request. Okay. And now I want this API, right? This API. And here I will write the logic of sending a connection request. Okay. And I will just, let me just log it. Connection, sending a connection request. Okay. Sending connection request. And what I will do, I will just send back the response. Okay. I'm not doing anything. So connection request request sent. Cool. Sent. Cool. I have made this dummy API. Now this API anybody can call, right? Suppose this API, somebody needs to call this API. Let me just, which is this? It is a post API, right? Let me just duplicate this API. Send connection request. Send connection request. Okay. Send connection request, and here is my API send connection request. In the body, I don't want to send any data for now, but maybe later on I will send that whom I want to send connection request in the body. For now, I'm not sending anything. If I hit the send button, it says connection request sent. It logs sending the connection request. Okay. So this API was validated. But what if I just want this API to be hit only if the user is logged in? So it is very, 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 very easy, right? Very easy. How? Right? I just can do user auth, right? I just have to add this middleware and everything will be taken care of. Now this API is very, very secure. Just by adding this middleware. See, this middleware was not added and I was able to make the API call, right? And if I don't even have the cookie, right? In the cookies, do I have any cookie? Yes, there is a cookie. Let me clear all the cookie, right? I have cleared all the cookie. Now there is no cookie, right? If I go to my profile, I cannot access anything because the token is invalid, right? Token is invalid, token is not present, right? So if I send the connection request, I can still send the connection request. But if I want to secure this API, I just have to add user auth, right? If I add user auth over here, that's it. My API will be safe. Now what will happen? If anybody is not logged in and try to enter this, it says token not valid. This API will only be called when my token is valid, when somebody logs in. Suppose if I log in using Elon, right? If I hit the enter, now I can send request. If I send request now, it will say connection request sent. And over here, I can also read who is sending the connection request, right? So who is sending the connection request, I can also send, right? I can also read the request. How? Because the user auth added the user on the request, right? So now I can just read the user, right? User is equals to request.user. Now I can say user.firstname is sending a connection request, right? So Abhi, let me just show you one thing, right? So I can just say that user.firstname plus sent the connection request. Okay, so I am playing with it just to demonstrate. Okay, so now let me just remove the cookies. This, I don't know why it just shows me in the second attempt, Postman. Okay, so I've cleared the cookies. If I go back, let me just run send connection request. Okay, so connection request, it says token is invalid. I need to log in, right? So if I go to login, right? If I go to login, now I want to log in. If I logged in, it says login successful. Now let me go back to sending the connection request, and if I click on send, it says Elon sent the connection request. Okay, because the Elon was logged in, so Elon can only send the connection request from his ID. And now, if I log in through Akshay, right? If I log in using Akshay, over here, right? Let me save it. Let me send it. Now my cookies would have been replaced. Now, if I send the connection request, it says Akshay sent the connection request. Okay, so this is how you can authenticate it just by adding this user auth. If you remove this user auth, everything will not work. This API will become unsafe and anybody can send the connection request. It is not working because the user was not found. But what I am trying to say, this user auth, just one word over here, makes your API secure. So now going forward, whenever I will create a new API call, I will always use this middleware user auth. Wherever there will be user auth, the user will have to be perfectly authenticated. That is when they will be able to send any connection request, receive any connection request, like anybody's profile, delete something, edit their profile, get their profile. Everything will be done only when the user is authenticated. Okay, so we have seen a lot of amazing things in this episode. There are few more small dummy things which I wanted to show you. Let me just show you before ending this episode. Okay, I think this episode has gone a little longer, but let me just show you few more things, and then we will go back and I will give you the homework and then we can end this episode. Okay, so first thing what I wanted to show you is, right, first of all, I will show you few options and then I will refactor the code, right? There is a little refactor that can be done. So now, let me first of all show you an important thing. Okay, one thing I wanted to show you is that how to expire. See, right now, if the cookie is set, we are not expiring this cookie, we are not expiring this JWT token. But let me just tell you how can you expire the JWT token, right? Do you want to see that? Let me just show it to you. So let us go back to the documentation of JWT token. Over here, you can even send, right? You can even send the expiry time. How do you send the expiry time? Let me just see. When I'm signing the token, yep, see this, right? Secret, see, expires in. So you can write like this, JWT.sign, here is the data, here is the secret, and you can pass an option over here and you can say expires in 1 hour. Expires in 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 10 hour, 4 hours, 7 days, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. You can give it in months, you can give it in years, you can give it never, right? You can give it never. Okay, so just read this documentation and you will understand that how you can give it. But let me just show it to you. Okay, so suppose if I say that, okay, where I am signing this over here, right? JWT.sign. So over here I am passing the secret. After that, let me just pass in an object and let me say expires in, and I can give it. See, you can give it in this format. If you do 1D, that means this token will expire in 1 day. Okay, now the token will expire in 1 day. Let us just give it, right? This is the nomenclature. Read the documentation. You will understand that how do you write it and what else you can write, right? So you can write it like this. If you give it like this 1H, that means 1 hour, right? If you give it 1H, this is 1 hour. This means 1 day, right? Generally we do it like this. Cool. And over here, if you will go to the login, right? Let me send the connection, send the request. If you'll go to cookies, let me close it. Let me go back again. If you will see the token now, okay, it won't show you over here that expiry, but it will expire. How should I really do it? Okay, I have an idea to showcase it to you, right? What I will do is, okay, let us say expires in 0 days. Okay, Let us give it expires in 0 days. 0 days means you create a token and it has already been expired, right? So let us just simulate it. So let us just send the request once again. Now the token would have been expired already, right? The token would have been expired already. So now let me hit the profile API and see what we get, right? If I send it, it says JWT expired. Do you see this? This says JWT expired. Okay. So what I am saying is you don't have to do anything. You just have to pass in the days. After 1 day, right? Suppose if the user is coming after 1 day, right? Send it. It will, okay, let me log in first of all. So if the user is logged in, right? Now if I go back to my profile and try to hit enter, it will give me the data. But suppose if I come tomorrow at the same time, right? And then try to access this, the token will be expired. This is how beautiful JWT is. It manages everything itself, right? So this is how you can expire the token, right? Suppose if you want the users to log in after 1 day again and again, right? So you can just expire the token. Just like in Namaste Dev, we expire the token every 1 day, right? Every day we expire the token, as in when we are making this video, we are, as in when I am making this video, right now we have implemented a scenario where you have to log in every other day, right? Every single day you come in, you have to log in. This has just been implemented because of security purposes, right? But you know what? Generally in normal websites, the expiry time is 7 days, right? 7 days is not a long enough time, not a short enough time. After a week, somebody can log in, right? And some websites, you will see that you never log out. Some websites like Facebook, some websites like Netflix, some websites like Gmail, right? You never have to log in again into Gmail, right? You rarely have to log in. How you have to log in? Suppose if you clear the cookie, clear the caches, clear your data, clear your Chrome browser, right? Or you are changing the browser. That is when you have to, expire this JWT token. Now, this is the expiry of JWT token, right? You can explore more things over here. Now, let me also tell you one more important thing, that you can even expire your cookies. This is, you are just expiring the token, but you can also expire your cookies. How do you expire the cookies? So you have to just go and see, right? Again, let's go back to our, Express.js and search over here cookies. Their search is very good actually, right? And you can just see request.cookies. Okay. When I am request.cookies, I am reading the cookies. Okay. I want to see response.cookies, res.cookies. Okay. This is response cookies. So when I am setting the cookies, right? I am setting the cookie. So I can give it a domain name and secure equal to true. I can also pass in things like HTTP only. So this cookie will only work on HTTP protocol. It will not work on HTTPS, right? If I will, when I'm setting the cookie over here, token, and I'm setting the cookie, if I pass in this also, right? If I pass in these options, right? If I pass in these options, let me just pass in over here, right? And in this option, if I pass in HTTP only, right? HTTP only, and if I give it true, so it will stop working for us, right? Why? Because we are making an HTTP call. We are not making an HTTPS call, right? We are not making a SSL call over here, right? So we are just making a HTTP call, but in the production, you should always use HTTPS. So your cookies will only work on HTTPS. So in the production, always use this, right? Always use this. Okay. So, okay, it says HTTP only. So it will only work on HTTP. It will not work on HTTPS. Is it? HTTP only means it will only work on HTTP, not HTTPS. Sorry, my bad. I told it wrong. Right? And then you can also send expires. Now see, remember the name. Over here in the cookie, the name is expires, and in JWT is it expires in, right? So always be careful of this nomenclature. Okay. Sometimes you mess up your head around these things, right? So you have to basically send expires, right? And you can just send in more information over here. Just read now, right? You can just say, okay, expire and then you give it a date, right? You can give it a date over here, right? You can just give it a date over here. This says that, okay, new date is equals to date.now, basically the present date plus these many seconds or something. Okay, I don't know. So basically this is saying that cookie will be removed after 8 hours, right? So this is how you write it. So go explore it, right? But what I'm trying to say, you can just expire the cookie also like this, right? If you write like this, the cookie will be expired in 1 hour, right? 8 hours, 1 hour, 10 hour. You can similarly just write the logic to expire the cookie in like 10 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatsoever you want to give it as, right? So now you can even use the date library to create these dates or something. But let me just show it to you once. If I refresh the page, let me log in once again. Let me log in once again. If I log in once again, if I go to my cookies, right? If I go to my cookies, you will see expires on, when it will be expired, it will be expired on 13th September 7:04:15, right? So basically it will be expired. Now expires will also come if you give it the path of expire. Okay. Now this is what I wanted to show, that you can expire your cookies accordingly, right? If you want to, you can expire your JWT token also. There is no good or bad practices over here. Just expire the, right? If it depends on application to application. If you want to keep your application, if you want to keep your application safe, right? And if you want to implement the cookie algorithm so that your application, somebody can share the cookie and somebody can share the account. If you have a risky kind of an application, expire the cookies in 1 day. If you want that, okay, user should be logged in anytime they come to our website, it should be logged in, then don't expire it. No need to expire the cookies. Okay. So this is how this expiry of cookie can be set, right? And expiry of JWT token can be set. Cool. So this is how things are. I wanted to, have one more small thing. I wanted to show you one more small thing. There is some refactoring that can be done in the code, but I will show you in the next portion of the video. It will just take 10 minutes of your time, but I will explain you an important concept of schema methods into Mongoose, right? There are Mongoose schema methods and I will tell you how to use it. It is related to, right, somewhat Mongoose, right, and your user schema. So I will teach you that. But for now, I wanted to take a break and I want you to go ahead and implement all of it. Also see that, okay, how can you expire these cookies and a lot of other stuff. Okay, so this is your homework. Let me just add the homework for now. So read the cookies inside your profile API, find the logged in user. Now you have to write your user auth middleware. Right? Write the user auth middleware. Create a, add the user auth middleware in, profile API and a new send connection request API. Okay, you have to test that. Cool. So you have to do this later on. Test the expiry, or maybe let me call this as set the expiry of JWT token and cookies for 2 8 days, right? To 7 days. Okay, 7 days. Okay, you can just do it, right? This is your homework. Okay, and you might have seen a lot of applications, right? If you log into Zerodha, right, for the Indian users who invest in stock market, there is a very big app which is known as Zerodha. If you log into Zerodha every day, you have to log in again. There are so many applications. In banking applications, your tokens expire in like 15-20 minutes, right? They don't even have a concept of tokens. They have a concept of sessions, right? So a session is created. As soon as you go out of that browser tab, your session is expired, right? So there are a lot more checks according to the same thing, right? So it all depends on your application to application, but in a general application, you can just keep the expiry time of your cookies and JWT tokens as 7 days, right? That's it. Okay, to keep your users safe, right? Never expiring the user is also a problem sometimes. Let me tell you a good example, because a lot of students ask me for an example where you might not have to expire, right? Shall we never expire the token, right? That is a bad thing. Because let me tell you, suppose if a user is opening your website from a cyber cafe or their friend's computer and they forgot to log out. So the cookie will always be there. The token will always be there. And they can use that token. The friend can use that token for the lifetime. Isn't it really risky? Suppose if you went to cyber cafe, right? And suppose if your user who goes to cyber cafe and opens your website, right? After 1 day, that token will expire. After 7 days, that token will expire, right? It's not a very big harm, but not expiring token is a very big harm, right? So expire the tokens, right? Expiring the token is good. Even though keep the expiry time as 7 days, 10 days, even you can keep it 1 month, 30 days, 40 days, whatsoever you want to, but do expire your tokens. This is my request to you all. Okay, that's all for now. Go do your homework, pause this video over here, come back once again. I will just take 10-15 minutes of your time and I will explain you the, the schema methods into the Mongoose schema. Okay, so that's all. Welcome back, my dear friends. Hope you would have written your user auth middleware, isn't it? Have you written or not, right? Please do code along with me. I don't want that you are just watching this video and you are not coding along with me, right? Please code along with me, because just watching these videos will not help you a lot, right? Please code along with me. Push your code to GitHub and maintain a repository, right? Do whatever I am doing, right? Sometimes just repeating what the teacher is repeating, right? Whatever I am doing, if you just repeat that will also help you understand, right? A lot of concepts, and then you will be able to make your own applications also. But please practice, otherwise all these things what I am teaching you is not of any use, right? So now I am coming on to the last portion of the episode, right? So now we have created this user user auth middleware. Now let me tell you what is there is something known as Mongoose schema, Mongoose schema methods, right? Mongoose schema methods. So let me just tell you, okay, this is the user schema. Now this is the user schema. You already know all of it, right? You know all of this thing. So this is the user schema that we created. Now, what is this user schema? This user schema basically defines the user. So what I can do is I can attach few methods onto this schema that is applicable for all users. What are these methods? These methods are helper methods that is very closely related to user. Right? So let me just tell you what kind of methods can these be. So if I go over here, so I found an opportunity. So see, when I am signing up the users, so what I am trying to do is, when I am logging in the user, what I am trying to do is I am creating this JWT token. Isn't it? I am creating the JWT token and I am passing this ID over here. I am basically securing and I am secretly injecting this ID into the token. So this function or this method is very closely related to user, right? Every user will have a different JWT token. Every user will have a different way of signing the token, right? So that is why you can just offload such things to your user schema methods, right? Let me just tell you how you create it. So basically, instead of signing the token over here, I can just get the token from my user schema method, okay? See, everything is working fine. There is no problem with this code, right? There is no problem with this code. But what I am trying to say is you can add handler methods to offload a lot of things, right? You don't have to write the logic of creating the JWT token over here. You don't have to. You just can offload those things to a different function, right? Just like we offloaded the validation, right? In the sign up API, we offloaded this validation to a different util method. Similarly, I can offload creating this JWT token, right? I can just offload creating this JWT token logic into my handler method, right? Into my schema method. And these are kind of like helper method only. How do you create it? Right? This is a concept, that is why I am teaching you, and this is a good way to use it, right? You should always use it. See, there is no problem with this code. Everything is running fine and everything will always run fine. But I am telling you the best practices. Okay? A best practice, a good practice while coding is to create such methods which are attached to user schema, right? So every user can have their own JWT token and you can create an extra method over here. How do you create it? You just write user schema.methods dot, I can say get JWT token, okay? Get JWT, okay? So I can just write this function, right? And now always make sure that if you are writing this function, you are not using arrow function, because if you will write arrow function, it will break things up, right? Why arrow function will break things up, I'll just tell you in a while, okay? So now over here in JWT, right, I will export this logic. Whatever I was doing, right, I was doing this JWT.sign. I will just do this JWT.sign over here, right? I will basically get this token. Token is equals to await, right, is equals to await JWT.sign, and let me make this function as async. Okay, I have made this function as async. I will get the token and I will return the token, right? And what I will do is, instead of user ID, I will pass this .id over here. So over here in this user schema.method, right? User schema.method, I can get my user as this. Got it? So this is referencing to, see, suppose whenever you create an instance of a model, so basically all these documents, right? This Akshay, this Elon, all of these are instances of this user model, isn't it? All of these are instances of this user model. So when I refer to this over here, it will represent that particular instance. So suppose if I am calling user.get JWT token, it is, and that user is Akshay, so it will get the JWT token for Akshay. Okay, so you don't have to worry about this. That is why we write this, and this keyword will only work with normal functions, older functions. If you will write arrow function, please note it down. You will make a lot of mistakes. Let me tell you, if you will write down this will not work. Okay, because this function has a very different implementation inside arrow function, that this function does not work. Okay, so this keyword does not work in arrow function. If you don't know about it, just go and check this keyword video on my YouTube channel. You will understand how this works. Okay, but this is how you do it, but it's a very small thing. Just add a function like this, right? That's how you create functions, right, over here. So this is a method. Now what I will do is, over here I don't have to worry about anything, right? I don't have to worry about how to get the ID, how to pass the ID, how to get the token. It is kind of like a helper function for us. And I will just write, I will just write over here, I will just write user. See, I already have a user, right? This is the user model. And when I find by email ID, so I got a user over here. This is an instance. This is the Akshay. So suppose if I pass the email ID Akshay over here, so this user is now Akshay, right? Suppose if I am logging in and my email ID is of Akshay, right? So this user is of Akshay. So if I will do user.get JWT, right? This function can now be called directly on this user instance, right? If I do user.get JWT, so whatever the current user will be, whether it is Akshay, whether it is Elon, whether it is any user who is logged in, right? That user token will be come back, right? Which will return from this method, right? And we don't have to take care about any other logic. Okay, we have offloaded that logic to our schema methods. This is a good way of doing it, right? It makes our life easy, it makes our job easier, and it is a cleaner code also, right? Now, if you will read the code, your code looks much more cleaner, isn't it? Right? Now let us just, if you will remove these comments and something, right? Your code will look much more cleaner, right? Your code will look much more cleaner, right? It is like await user.get JWT. Now, you don't have to manage inside the API how to get the JWT, what library I am using, when will it expire. All these things are taken care of over here. Using schema methods also make your functions reusable. So suppose if somebody else, some other function wants to use the same object, suppose at some other place you want to create this get JWT token, right? So you can just call this function and it becomes reusable also, right? So, and it makes your code cleaner, it makes your code modular, it makes your code testable, right? And it is very easy, right? Very easy to just read the code, right? It makes your code readable also. Cool. So this is how you do it. This is how you, write the method. There is one more method that we can create, right? One method to create is, see, which is attached to user schema to validate the password, right? To validate the password. How I can create that method? Remember, we use bcrypt, right? In the login only I did that, right? I guess. Where is the login API? Here. I was using bcrypt.compare. I can just offload this also, right? I can offload this also over here. Let me just show it to you. Otherwise, I could have given you a homework. Maybe just pause the video over here, take it down as a homework and do it in your system, right? But let me just also show you how to write it, right? You will write user schema.methods.verify password or validate password. Okay. Validate password, and I can make a async function, right? Always use this function. Don't use arrow over here. Again, I'm telling you, constant user is equals to this, right? So this is referring to that user. Now what I will do is I will just validate the password. Is password valid, right? Is password valid? And then I will use bcrypt, CRYPT, right? Bcrypt, and then let me just first of all add this bcrypt library, and over here I can just do bcrypt dot, or maybe let me just go and copy paste from here, right? I will do bcrypt, right? Bcrypt.compare. What I will do? Bcrypt.compare, and now I will compare the password from the user.password. Okay, so over here, the first, always remember, if you interchange this, this will not work. If you interchange this, this will not work. Over here, you have to pass the password which is coming from the request, right? Which the user entered. And over here, you have to pass the password which is there in your this.password, okay? Which is the actual user's password hash, right? Your password hash. So let me be very clear about it. Password hash, right? Password hash is this dot password, right? Or maybe you can call this as user dot password now, because this is user, right? And over here you need to pass this password hash. Okay, this is the official password hash. Right? This is the official password hash. Sorry, my bad. I'm just writing it. Now over here I will pass what the user has sent in. So the user has sent in what? The user has sent in this password. So what I will do is I will just call this. First of all, let me just call this user dot validate password. What was the name of this function? Validate password. Okay. I will just send validate password, and over here I will just pass what the user is sending. The user has sent this password to us, which is known as password, right? Validate password. And over here, I will receive it. This is the password, password input by user, right? Let me be very clear, right? password input by user, because this can be a malicious password also. So I have to, first thing should be passed is password input by user, and then I will check with my password hash. If they compare, then I will return, right, is password valid. And let me tell you, if you interchange these order, it will make an error, right? It will be an error. I am telling you right away, because I know when you will code, you will get into such errors, right? So this is how it works. Now let me just quickly see if my validation and everything is working fine or not. My sign up and passwords, everything is working fine. But now I have made my code much more cleaner, right? It is very clean now. And this is what I would suggest you to use the code like this, right? And it is my humble request to you all. Please use the code like this. Try to use these schema methods. These are schema methods. And if you will see closely, these methods are very much related to user, right? So basically, see, I was using a user ID over here to create a JWT token, right? I was using a user ID to create a JWT token. So it makes sense to attach it with the schema, right? It makes sense to attach it with the schema. Similarly, I was validating a password. So the input password, and now I am comparing it with the user password that is specific to that user. So whenever you find such opportunities, create such methods, right? And it will be a cleaner, nicer, readable code, right? And a modular code. And your API code, right? This controller code, or you can say that request handler code, will become much more cleaner and easier to read. Okay, so that is what is refactoring of the code, which I wanted to show. This is all I wanted to show. Now, let me give you a homework before I end this, right, session. So the first handler is, right, create schema method, right? Create user schema method to get JWT, right? This is, and then the second one is create user schema method to, compare passwords. bcrypt.compare passwords, right? And take a password input. Be very clear. Sometimes, people don't write clear names, right? They feel that these names can be long, but don't worry about the length of the variable name. But your variable name should not be random, right? I have seen people writing like this, X, and then they will write like this, X. Come on, the code that you write, tell me, the code that you write is for computers to understand or humans to understand? The code that you write is for humans to understand. Humans, not the computers. So always be clear when you write. Your code should be readable. Now, a lot of people say that we write code so that computer can understand. No, computer can understand binary also, but that does not mean we will write binary. Because we can't write binary, because it's not human readable. We are working with JavaScript. We are working with these high level languages. We are working with Node.js, Express frameworks, just because it becomes easier for us. Computer is a machine. It can understand like random things you give it to it. But this code is for humans to understand. Okay? So when humans should understand, always be clear with what names you put in, right? Suppose if I am naming this is password valid, this means that it will always contain a Boolean flag. Why? I am starting it with is. Is password valid? True or false? Makes sense, right? That is how you name it. Become a very good at things, right? I am saying password hash. I am not saying password. Password hash. Let us be very clear that this is not the password. This is the password hash. Okay? Which we have generated by bcrypt. Okay? So this is how I would say that please be very clear. Password input by user, right? So this is how it is. Now please do this homework. That's all in this video. I know this video was a little complicated. This video can be a little complicated for some of you, for new users, for people who are writing backend for the first time. But let me tell you that this is a very, very important video. If you have not understood any portion of it, go back, rewatch it, try it on your own. Practice will make you perfect. Very easy. And I have written a lot of code in this video, right? We have written a lot of code in this video. If you'll go and see, we have written a lot of code over here. But let me tell you, the beauty of Namaste Node.js is that I have explained you each and every word and each and every single line of code that I have written. And in a very easier way, I have shown you how to handle errors. I have shown you how to catch errors, how to throw errors. I have shown you how to create right from the best practices. What are the libraries you have to use? How to make your code very secure? How to make your API secure, safe, right? How can you basically create your schema methods to do that? I have also shown you how to create util methods and write validations over here. There are so many things which we have learned over here in Namaste Node.js. And as in when we go ahead, we will keep. And now you see, we started with, we have created each file on our own. We have written each and every code on our own. Let us feel proud. We have made so many folders, so many files are there. And as in when we will go ahead, we will see our project growing. Now also you would have seen that there are so many files and folders over here, and our code is growing a little, but you know everything from the scratch, how we have come over here, right? And as in when we go ahead, our code will grow. And that is what the beauty is of a big project, is that when your code will grow, I will keep on doing this refactoring, and I will keep on telling you the best practices to maintain and manage a big, large code base also. That is when you will become an industry-ready developer, right? We are using these standard practices, JWT token, cookies, expiry, everything is, of the industry level. We are using the latest methods. Okay. So thank you so much for watching this video. That's all in this video, in the authentication video. I will just push this code to GitHub if you really need it. But I would suggest you to do the homework by just looking at this homework.md file, and then don't see my code, right? Only refer to my code when required. Otherwise, try to write on your own, because the more you will learn by writing on your own, and the more you will test from these, from the Postman and from the database, the better you will become. Okay, so that's all, right? Oh, but last thing is, I have not tested this user schema methods, right? Let me just test it. For testing it, I just want to sign up a new user. Let us sign up Mark, right? Mark, the last thing, hope everything works, because I have not tested it. Maybe I would have written something wrong. Then you will complain that Akshay, it is not working. Mark Zuckerberg. Now I have an opportunity to correct it if there is some, issue with the code. Okay, so I will say mark@123 and let me send it. User added successfully. Let us go back to our database. Mark Zuckerberg, password is stored in a hash format. Now let me just log in to Mark, right? Mark, and then let us say MARK, Mark. Okay, and then if I send it, JWT token is not defined. Oh my God. Okay, see, this is what I was thinking about, right? We have got the issue. Somehow the JWT token is not defined. Did I miss it something? Okay, user method get JWT. I am returning the token from here. JWT.sign. Getting the token, returning the token, async function. Let us go back over here. Is the token created successfully? See, this is what I was saying, right? There can be some issue. I have not tested it. I always test my code. User.get JWT. Am I writing it correctly? Yes, it should have been correct, right? Why? Await token. Why it is saying user added successfully, login, and if I send it, JWT not defined. Okay, why it is asking me to define JWT? Acha, JWT not defined. That means this JWT is not defined somewhere. Where? Oh, I have not imported JWT. My bad. See this, it's a very silly bug, right? JSON web token. Okay, cool. Now I have not imported this over here. It should work now, I guess. The user is created. Let me log in. Cool. Login is successful. Let me go and see if my profile, I can access the profile of Mark. Yes, Mark Zuckerberg profile is accessible. If I go send the connection request, it will send the connection request. Mark sent a cool. So there was no bug in our API. I was just not entering this JWT, right? See, all these errors you can catch in your, in your device also, in your code editor also, by using some plugins. I am not using the plugins just to show you and write each and every small thing, right? I am even writing all of this. I am not using auto import kind of a thing, right? If you use auto import, it will automatically import things for you and all of that stuff. I don't use that while teaching mostly because I want to manually write as much as I can, because I want to show you that I also learn by writing. And if I can write in front of you, you can also write by yourself. Okay, please write it. Don't get used to of these, a lot of tools and knowledge here and there, right? Use it later on, but initially if you are learning for the first go, don't use the autocomplete or all those stuff, right? Try to write these import statement also by yourself, right? I know that sometimes you will mess up with this dot, sometimes you will have to write dot, sometimes you will have to write dot, sometimes you will forget the name of this path, but the more you write, the better you will become. Okay, so that's all in this video. Let us just wind this up. It has been a lot more time. I think it has been around 2 hours that I am making this video. This is the longest episode till now. And thank you so much for watching these videos. The last thing, as I request in all the videos, that if you are liking this series, please give us a shout out on LinkedIn, on your social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, anywhere. Please give us a shout out and recommend our course to your friends, to your family, to everyone in your network, to the social media, right? Please share a word about us. That means a lot to us. It helps us grow and it would help me reach more people. And that is our only request to you all. The last thing I want to say is keep practicing along with me. Add your code to, GitHub, right? And then share your GitHub links. Maybe you can also write social media posts. You can learn in public. You can write your social media post about your learnings, whatever you have learned in these episodes. You can write it in a LinkedIn post and share it on LinkedIn. You can write it as a Twitter thread, share it on it. You can even, if you are making handwritten notes, then you can take a photo of that, make a PDF and share it over LinkedIn and social media and learn in public, right? So that's all in this video. And also join the Discord community. If you need any help or if you can help somebody, please join the Discord community. Connect with other Namaste Node.js fellow colleagues and peers and developers and make a good community out of it. That's all in this video. This is all I wanted to say. This was Authentication. In the next video, I will be covering a lot more amazing things. We will start building a lot of cool features inside our application. We will start sending connection requests to other people. We'll create a lot more amazing APIs and we will see Dev Tinder building in a very fast pace now. These were the core things which I wanted to explain. Now, once we are very good at Express, we are very good at routing, we are very good at middlewares, we are very good at authentication, we are very good at Node. Right now we are getting confidence of writing code. Now it will become very easy to develop applications. See, right now, whatever I am doing is not very much specific to Dev Tinder, right? All these things are required in any application that you will make. Now, with all the knowledge that I have given it to you, when we will write code, your code writing will be very fast because you know a lot of stuff already, right? I have explained you a lot of stuff already. So now when we will build our applications, it will become very fast to build it. Okay, that's all in this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.